eyes are on Alaska as President Donald Trump heads there for a high-stakes sit-down with Vladimir Putin.
Now, the president waved to the cameras as he walked to Air Force One. He's in the air right now, set to land a little bit later this afternoon. That meeting with Putin set for 3 o'clock.
And the goal of the meeting to push for some sort of peace deal between Ukraine and Russia. ABC's Christiane Cordero is live in Anchorage, Alaska, with a look ahead to the meeting. So thank you so much for joining us.
Christiane?
Yeah, Brittany, Sandra, and Pedro, great to be with you both. I think I just lost you for a second, but I can hear you now. Look, this is a really high-stakes meeting, as we've said, right? It's historic in the sense that this is the first time Vladimir Putin will be on U.S. soil in a decade. And then, of course, this all falls on the backdrop of this war in Ukraine. Now, it's 3.5 years since Russia invaded. And so President Trump, who has been adamant really since before his presidency, within the campaign trail, he said that he could end this war within 24 hours. He's since said that it's proven to be much more difficult than that. But no doubt he still is really set on brokering this deal. And for Vladimir Putin, you know, just the fact that he has a seat at the table and an opportunity to be taken seriously by leaders around the world is in many ways already a win for him. So we'll see what happens out of this. As far as timeline goes, we expect the president to land, and really both of them to land probably within the next 6 hours or so. And then they'll go, you know, and into their meeting, perhaps share a meal together. But really one of the big key indicators here will be if they have a joint press conference after. Both sides have said that they would at least be willing to do that. The Russian side says that they will be participating in it. But really the brass tacks will come down to if there is a joint message to share. And President Trump has said that, you know, a ceasefire needs to be accomplished here, while he has also lowered expectations for that actually happening, putting a lot of pressure on Vladimir Putin, guys.
Yeah, Christiane, it was interesting. The president said if the meeting goes well, then we most likely will have a joint press conference. And if it doesn't go well, he'll probably do it by himself. Now, the president did say that he vowed some serious consequences if Putin refuses to make any deal. So what kind of consequences are we talking about here?
Right, we would be talking more than likely about sanctions, right? And the nitty-gritty of it is still to be determined. But one thing that's important to fit into that context is European leadership has also kind of echoed the pressure that has been put on by President Trump. And so you're seeing a little bit more of a unified front leading up to this meeting than what we've seen perhaps in the past several weeks and months. And so if there are additional sanctions placed on by European countries and by the U.S. as well, then that could bring Vladimir Putin to the table in a little bit more of a meaningful way. It is important to note that President Zelensky, Ukraine's President Zelensky, he was not invited to this meeting in particular, and he's said that, you know, he thinks that Russia is bluffing and that they're trying to deceive America.
He's been dealing with Russia for quite some time now. Just out of curiosity, you're on the ground in Anchorage there. So what have folks in Alaska been saying about this meeting, the reaction to Putin being in Alaska, the president going to meet him there?
Right. I mean, well, even taking a step further back from that, just the fact that the world's attention is turning to Anchorage, Alaska, is significant in itself, right? And this is a region that both countries have a shared history with. The U.S. purchased Alaska from Russia in 1867. When you talk to people, you kind of hear the range of, you know, the sentiment ranges the same way that it would in many other parts of the country, right? Of course, President Trump won Alaska by 13 points. He would not hesitate to bring that up. But when you really zoom in, even just isolating the Republican Party, you can also see a wide range of nuance. Of course, Lisa Murkowski is one of the senators here in Alaska, and she has clashed with some of the president's agenda, and she has also said that she's acting in Alaska's best interest. So it's a fascinating place to have this, and the backdrop isn't too bad either, guys. It's really pretty out here for sure.
Thank you so much for rubbing it in, Christiane. It will be really interesting to see how this meeting turns out. Thank you so much for your reporting. And of course, no one's more interested in the meeting today than Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and our European allies.
Yeah, ABC's chief foreign affairs correspondent Pannell has more on the mood in Ukraine and the latest on the war. He continues our team coverage from Kyiv.
Yeah, hi guys. You know, this may be the biggest gamble of Trump's presidency, but it's Ukrainian lives on the line. They've endured 11 years of Russian aggression, including 3.5 years of full-scale war. Hundreds of thousands have been killed here, and hundreds of thousands of Russian soldiers. Millions of people have been forced from their homes. So the mood here in Ukraine is frankly somber. Hope for peace is tempered by bitter experience. Nightly Russian attacks terrorize the country, and Ukrainian forces are stretched dangerously thin as Russia advances slowly on the battlefield. Russian and American promises have been broken before, peace agreements have been violated, and today Ukrainians don't even have a seat at a meeting to decide their own fate. So few people here expect a significant breakthrough. At best, they hope for a temporary ceasefire. But having sacrificed so much, I think Ukrainians are not going to accept the loss of their land, nor settle for anything less than security guarantees that mean that Russia will not attack them once again. Guys?
Ian, Pannell, thank you very much. Please stay with Eyewitness News and ABC News on air and online throughout this day. We will bring you full coverage on that high-stakes summit set to begin around 3 o'clock this afternoon. And, of course, you can find those updates and much more insight into the summit here on Channel 7 or at ABC7NY.